Hello, this is Hallie Warner, Chief of Staff at Adam Hergenrother Companies. I am constantly fascinated by how founders and leaders work together with their right-hand partners to turn ideas into action and build wildly successful businesses. I've worked with Adam, a multi-passionate visionary leader, for over 10 years, growing multiple thriving companies along the way. We actually wrote a book about how we leveraged our strategic partnership to achieve success called The Founder and the Force Multiplier, which you can find on Amazon. Today, I want to bring you another real-life example of a founder and a Force Multiplier partnership. My guests today are Craig Goodliffe, CEO, and Jennifer Capero, the Chief Operations Officer of Cyberbacker. Craig Goodliffe is the CEO of Cyberbacker, which launched in January of 2018. Cyberbacker is one of the fastest remote working companies that currently provides online services to over 1,000 companies around the world. Craig participated in the development of Cyberbacker's world-class profit share structure in February of 2020 and gave a total of $226,644 back to its associates at the end of that year. Seeing the tremendous growth of the company and to make a dent in global poverty on a greater scale, Craig decided to start franchising Cyberbacker. Craig believes that where you are born has very little to do with what you can accomplish. Jennifer Capero is the Chief Operations Officer of Cyberbacker and is the Cyberbacker 2 CEO, Craig Goodliffe. She joined Cyberbacker in April of 2018 as a career backer, handling the recruitment team of the company. Jennifer transitioned to Craig's Cyberbacker last March of 2019 and is now functioning as Cyberbacker's COO as the company grows. You can learn more about Craig, Jennifer, and Cyberbacker at cyberbacker.com. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel to get more tips for founders and Force Multipliers by hitting the subscribe button below. And let me know what you think of this interview by leaving us a comment. Thanks for watching. Today, I have Craig and Jenny from Cyberbacker with us here today. Thank you both so much for joining.
This is a great opportunity. So thanks again.
Yeah, awesome. I cannot wait to hear more about your story. So Craig, tell me a little bit, for those who are not familiar with Cyberbacker, could you give us a brief history of the company and how you got started?
Yeah, so I've been hiring globally since 2012. And for a long time, I actually people said, how do you do that? And I said, well, here's kind of what I do and here's how I did it. We were teaching classes, we were teaching courses, and I kind of stopped because we had people messaging me that said, hey, do you know this person? Because they haven't paid me. And I went, oh, that hurts my heart a little bit. And I can remember these stories of these single moms who'd worked for like 3 months and then were totally ghosted. And I went, that's painful. And then I went ahead and started seeing people in the US who are like, do you know this person? Because I was paying them, they didn't show up to work. You're also friends with them on Facebook. And I just started seeing this virtual world that I really didn't like. And so I kind of said, we're going to take a step back from this. And simultaneously, I've got one of my great friends who she and I are both coaches. And she said, I got to ask you a question. How are you able to do what you do? Because I'm working 7 days a week from when I wake up till when I go to bed. And at that time, I had a real estate team that was pretty good sized. I was teaching group courses. I had a ton of things going on. But I also had nights and weekends. And she was trying to figure it out. And so I said, well, let me just help you. Let me hire you someone. Let me train them. Let me go ahead and you're a friend, I'll do this one for you. And word got out there and someone else asked the same thing. And I said, I don't really do this and I don't really want to do this. And I'm kind of distancing myself until it kind of just became a lot of people at once. And so I just said, you know what, there's some things I don't like about the whole virtual assistant world, but what if we could fix them? What if we could go ahead and make a company that made a difference, hired great people, trained great people, found great clients, worked with them. And that's kind of how we started back in January of 2018.
Okay, that is really cool. So Cyberbacker was really born out of necessity in the market, it sounds like, and you were answering that call to bring better services and better support to, did you start with the real estate industry primarily at first and then you've branched out from there since then, correct?
Yeah, we started with coaches.
Oh, great.
With MAPS coaching, originally Cyberbacker was just for coaches. And that was our original intention. We never planned to grow beyond that. In fact, we would go ahead and start saying, hey, you need help? That's great. We're going to refer you out or go watch this. We just weren't there until about 8 months in. We had people, we were talking to our clients, these coaches, and they said, oh yeah, my cyberbacker's also doing this, and this. And we went ahead and said, well, what could it be? Mm-hmm. And once we started asking ourselves, what could it be? It allowed the conversation to grow. And the company grew from coaches to real estate to small business, and later on to where we're at right now, which is franchising.
Yeah, that's so cool. And you have over 1,000 employees now?
Yeah, the number last night was 1,753.
Wow, even more than just the last time I looked.
Yeah. I was talking to a good friend that we caught up back in May, and we're having a conversation. I said, well, we're over 1,700. She says, back in May, you were at 1,200. And I said, yeah, it's growing really fast, and we're very grateful.
Did you see that did the pandemic help accelerate some of that growth?
Yeah, we thought it was going to go the other way. Yeah. I mean, truthfully, it was kind of a timing thing where the pandemic happened. We thought the ship's going down and let's just take care of everybody. And I set this weird goal that we were going to profit share. And I can remember pandemic starts, we're locked down. Company has not been profitable. We've lost money. And I went, oh, we're in trouble. Well, so it was kind of an interesting thing because I didn't want to tell people that we're having a hard time. And as a leader, it's important that you remain calm and that you're constantly working on a plan. And I've just had this, I'm not going to fail. I'm not going to give up. As long as I truly give it my best, then even if it doesn't work, hey, you know what? I gave it my best shot. And we actually went from when we started 2020 and 2019, we had 259 people working with us. Wow. And at the end of 2020, we actually had 870.
Yeah, that's huge growth. And you did end up profit sharing that year, correct? Or that next
year? Our goal in 2020 was to profit share 50,000. And that's a whole other big adventure. We actually profit shared 226,644.
That's incredible. That's so cool. And so how did you and Jen, or when did you start working together? What did that look like? How did you find each other?
Well, so Jen actually, and she can give you the details. I'm talking too much. So Jen, you want to tell them how you found Cyberbacker and started?
I was working in the call center. I've worked in the call center for 11 years. And then with the last company I worked with, I met a friend who started working with Cyberbacker, and then she told me about it. I applied as a Cyberbacker, hired as a career backer. So technically, I'm handling recruitment for Cyberbacker. Then 11 months after, when Craig decided to restructure, I started working with him as his own Cyberbacker.
Very cool. So how long have you two been working together? About a year or 2 years? 6 months?
Over 2 years.
Oh, over 2 years. Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. What is the day so Craig, you're mostly working in Cyberbacker at this point, although you have other ventures. Mm-hmm. What does the day-to-day look like for you two? How does, in the world that I talk to with a lot of executive assistants and chiefs of staff, especially now more than ever, quite honestly, we are seeing the remote relationship, but you started that way, I imagine. So you've already really mastered that relationship. How does it work? And what does your day-to-day look like?
Well, so Jen's always, we're always on Zoom as if she were sitting in my office, and we go ahead and we start working about 7-ish in the morning, sometimes a little bit earlier, depending on the day. There's times that I wake up, I go to the gym, and at 6 o'clock, I'm blowing up her voicemail and her text messages. And she's kind of going, oh no, here we go. And we'll go ahead and we'll start. And everything from meeting with a lot of our executives in Cyberbacker to a lot of our franchise owners and associates and things like that. We'll go ahead and she'll be sitting on my desk and she's there. So if I go ahead and I say, I'll call you later. If I say, let's schedule a time. If I say, I'll send you an email or I'll get this over to you. She's constantly listening and executing. So it's no different than a traditional assistant who's just sitting there on a desk, or sitting, not on the desk, but sitting outside the office or sitting right across from you, making sure that the administrative tasks are performed. I mean, a lot of times because she's doing that, I don't really have to touch a computer very often. My keyboard or my mouse, I can just be hands-free and focused on what I'm good at, which is meeting with people, having powerful conversations. In fact, most of my real communication is just pen and paper. I'm very old-fashioned like that. I'm a little bit of a workaholic. I kind of have this problem, and we really enjoy what we do. We really have fun with it. So a lot of days we end up working until about 5 or 6.
Okay, that's awesome. So really, I mean, Jen, it sounds like you're really the shadow for Craig, and actually, yeah. And what you just described is exactly how I describe the role, which is you're doing one job, but you just happen to be doing two different pieces of it. Craig, you're doing the front facing and you're really interacting with the clients. You're doing what you do best. And Jen, you're right there along with him doing the exact same thing. You're just doing your pieces of it. And I think that is what makes the partnership so incredible, because you're both working in your strengths.
Mm-hmm.
So Jenny, specifically for you, what does, you're doing a lot of this administrative work. What, can you give me an example of a couple of like your core projects or core priorities? What do you focus on the most in your role?
I focus mainly on managing Craig's interference. So from managing his calendar, scheduling his calls, taking notes when he's talking to people, when he's coaching, and when he's having meetings with franchise owners and cyberbackers. I dial for him when he has to make calls, because he doesn't have to do that. I dial for him. I remind him of things that he promised he'll do to anyone he talks to. And basically, I also talk to managing his interference means I have to field the conversations he's not supposed to have, or conversations that has to be postponed, or that can be delegated to someone else. That's a whole day thing for me.
Yeah, so really managing the workflow and the life of Craig. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes.
So successful strategic business partnerships look different for everyone. What has made your partnership work?
I'd say the biggest thing is we are day-to-day, constant, and we were talking about what makes it work, and Jen mentioned our one sheet, and we constantly have one sheet we go to that if it's the middle of the night and I have a thought, I'll go ahead and put it on that sheet. And when there's something I have to remember to do, it goes on there, and it is very transparent and clear communication. And so we know exactly what we're doing and when we're doing it and what the objectives are. How do we know we're successful in them? And so everything from right now, I went ahead and I had the 4th of July, my house caught fire. So yeah, we had to go ahead and move out. So bought a condo, it flooded. So not quite in the condo yet. And those little things have taken up a lot of time and stuff like that. And Jen hasn't been as familiar with real estate, so that's a whole new world for her. Yet she does really, really good at, it's on the sheet. We know what we need to do. We know who we need to delegate it to, and we're crystal clear on what gets done and how it gets done.
Yeah, that's amazing. So the one sheet is a daily tool that you both use, and I'm assuming it's all online. This one sheet. Do you use a particular program for that, or is it something that Cyberbacker created?
Yeah, it's a very high-tech tool that a lot of people, it's very confusing. So bear with me. I know it's expensive. Google Doc.
I was gonna say Word doc or Google Doc.
It's a simple Google Doc.
Yeah.
Spreadsheets linked to it and notes and everything. So it's all right there. Yeah. And that's one of them. And then the other is every morning we start our day, we have an itinerary that Jen emails me that we follow that says, here's what we're going to do today. Here's what you need to know. Here's what we have to talk about. And we work from the itinerary.
Yeah, that's amazing. Jenny, is that something that you create like the night before, or what's your process for getting the itinerary together?
On a daily basis, I do it a day before. Like before the current shift ends, I prepare for the next day. And then if there's anything that has to be changed, any reschedules or cancellation or changes or addition to the schedule, it's when I change it 30 minutes before the first call, that's when I send it to him.
In addition to these one sheets that you have, do you do any other sort of, like, what's your communication cadence? Do you have any other one-on-one meetings together, or are you really just constantly communicating with each other?
It's pretty constant communication, down to I'll go ahead and I have this challenge of leaving my office, walking down the stairs and getting in my car with interference coming at me because someone will stop. Hey, you got a second? Which turns into an hour.
Mhm.
And so we'll go ahead and at the end of the day, I'll say, I'll call you in 5 minutes. And she goes ahead and puts me on the clock to leave my office and get down to my car in 5 minutes. Or if not, she's calling me because I got sniped, because I ran into someone and they said, got a minute? And it's very rarely a minute. So it's everything from once we go ahead and jump into in the car. And sometimes when I leave, if she's like, okay, we got 4 or 5 calls to return, we'll get in the car. She's there, she's dialing and I'm talking and she's taking notes. And if I say, we'll do this for you, I'll send this to you, whatever it is, we completely get it done every time.
Yeah, that's amazing. I always say that one of the biggest roles of a force multiplier is making sure that promises made by the founder are promises that are kept.
Absolutely.
And it sounds like, Jenny, that is what you do.
All the time, yes.
Yeah, that's awesome. Tell me about a challenge that you two have had working together. It could be a business challenge that came up or something specific to the two of you, but talk to me about how you've worked through some of those difficulties in business or in your relationship.
Yeah, we've had a lot of them. We had one time we were billing people through PayPal and paying our cyberbackers through PayPal. PayPal took $136,000 of our money. And that was a high anxiety time because we were worried we weren't going to be able to pay people. And we had to just beg, borrow. I did everything I could to make payroll, which made it 7 days. And we had to sell a lot of contracts, work really hard and figure it out the next 7, but we did, we took care of it and everything. And it was in that time that profit share was discovered because I said my own little prayer and just said, if we can get through this, we'll profit share. And being in the Philippines at that time, we saw a lot of the street children and I knew that our cyberbackers would help, but financially they couldn't. And you just can't give what you don't have. Mm-hmm. And so we kind of built that, but that was a very tumultuous time. And we went ahead and discovered that if we go ahead and we'll be on Zoom, we'll watch like Impractical Jokers on YouTube together for maybe 5-10 minutes. We'll just laugh and we'll take a very stressful time. We'll lighten the mood. We'll both be in a better mood. The problem doesn't go away, but we handle it so much better when we do little things like that.
Yeah, that's so cool. I mean, that's when the relationships are made, in my opinion, is through those difficulties. Jen, what was that like for you having to go through that with Craig, and how did that change the relationship for you?
Whenever there's a challenge, it's always very difficult for me too, because it means there's going to be a lot of interference for him. Basically, trained me to also be focused and also be positive. It's not good all the time. I mean, we're not happy all the time, but it's a conscious effort for me on my part to be a positive influence for him. And yeah, it's a lot of the challenges that we've experienced has improved our relationship in such a way that we're open to talking about it, and we talk a lot, we strategize a lot, and that's it. We work together really well.
Well, you both mentioned that you work quite a bit. And as we know, with any newer, younger company, or just really even running a more established organization, there is a lot of stress. How do you both manage your energy? Do you have any habits or routines for that?
As far as collectively, my first thing is I'm not going to say I'm some like gym rat with huge muscles. I'm really not. But I'm a get up at 4 a.m., gym at 5 a.m. and maintaining consistency for me goes ahead and it reduces my stress and challenges. And Jen can also tell when I'm off my schedule, I'm going to have a hard time. And so she works really hard to protect my schedule and allow me to do those things so we can stay consistent and we can stay proactive. And that's one of the biggest things that we've noticed, because, you know, when it's off, it's really off.
Jen, what about you? How do you manage? I know it from personal experience. Usually when we're in that assistant role, all of our energy goes to managing our executives' energy, which often doesn't always leave time for us to do that for ourselves. But have you found anything that works for you to help you manage your stress, manage your energy, and make sure that you're able to run alongside Craig every day?
Well, when he's awake, I'm awake. And so as long as I start the day right, like I start the day on time, I'm good. I'm able to manage and plan ahead when I am up on time, when I work out on time. I'm able to prepare everything for him on time, and I have a positive energy when I'm not cramming and everything's set for him. That's the first thing I do. I mean, that's the only thing that I focus on. At the end of the day, I look back on the things that I've listed that we have to do, and as long as that's done, then I'm happy with it.
So I'm hearing like great time management in there, really helping to keep a routine on the day, helps prepare for the day ahead, and also just stay organized for both yourself and Craig, which I understand too means your energy is better if you can, if you feel a little bit more in control of what's happening, and being proactive rather than reactive. Craig, take us back to some of the earlier days, whether with Cyberbacker or even just in your entrepreneurial career, because I know you're an entrepreneur. What are some of the big mistakes that you made earlier on in your entrepreneurial endeavors, and what did you learn?
Putting the wrong people in the position and keeping them there. We've got right now one of my absolute favorite people still in our company today, that's working on helping us structure our nonprofit and is helping with a lot of the US operations. Was my original first assistant, and she's fantastically intelligent, wonderful person. When her and her husband got married, she invited me to the Philippines, and I went for the first time, and it was great. She wasn't mentally structured at a way that performs at the same level Jen does. Doesn't mean she's, you know, a bad person. I think she's a fantastic person, a wonderful person. It's just a different level of thinking. And if I had to break it down, it's just to the level of understanding what I need proactively and our ability to communicate. And that was one. And then having other people, because we had people that I would work with and I wanted them to have the job more than they would want the job. And I would keep it working to increase responsibility, and I would work to increase, we'll pay you more, we'll do whatever it takes. And truly, they didn't want it. And that was my biggest repetitive, because it's not the first time I've made that, you know, made that mistake. And having Jen where she's at, I've got someone who is at my pace, who thinks proactively ahead of, okay, he's going to be on the phone for 4 hours. If he doesn't eat right there, and she'll remind me, hey, you need to eat, or hey, you need to take a bathroom break, or, you know, I know you're going to need a drink of water. You might want to go ahead and do that. That's been a big difference. So if I had to go ahead and sum it up in my one big thing, it wasn't making the right hire. And, you know, you pay for those mistakes for a long time.
Mm-hmm. When you first started, I don't know exactly what your first entrepreneurial gig was, if you got into real estate right away or if there was something else, but when did you hire your first assistant? Like, you know, was it an immediate hire, or did you wait 6 years before you hired your first assistant?
No, so I went ahead, and when I got into real estate, I was in for about 6 months, and then I joined a team. And that was my first taste of having a little bit of an assistant. And parted ways with that team and went ahead and said, okay, I'm going to kind of try this on my own. And I would hire someone, but I didn't know how to hire great people. And I didn't know what I was looking for. I really didn't know what talent was. Mm-hmm. So I kind of fumbled through a few, let's try this, and went and worked with another team. I ended up working with Abe Shreve, wonderful man. And we had a fantastic assistant. And so she was really, really great. And Abe knows how to find talent at a very high level. And so when we went ahead and were working with her, I kind of saw what high level talent looked like and how it performed. And so that kind of gave me a model. And Abe and I went ahead and he decided to run the real estate office for a little bit. And I decided to go on my own. And I kind of realized that's who I needed. And I just kept looking for them. And it was a little bit difficult finding someone who was who could keep up.
Right.
But yeah, so I've always kind of borrowed on the side from, but as soon as I went ahead and I understood that there's things in the world I'm not good at that someone else is good at, life changed.
Yeah, and I think what was interesting is that your instinct was to have leverage right away in some form, and then the other thing I heard was that even though you didn't get it right, you kept trying because you understood the importance of having that leverage. I do hear from a lot of entrepreneurs and founders that I talk to, as I'm sure you do, they try to do too much on their own, and they could all benefit so much from just having that one partner who they could rely on to really help them succeed faster, accelerate their growth. And so I really appreciate you sharing that you almost did that from day one, which is great.
Yeah, I fumbled into it.
Yes, but that's okay. That's okay. That's the best way to learn. What would be one thing that others would be surprised about, surprised to learn about both of you or about your partnership?
Mentioned it a little bit earlier. On the most challenging times, on days that are less, I'd say we're less positive than the usual. What we do is we watch Impractical Jokers, or recently we've watched a very, what was that? Ron Burgundy, Craig.
Yeah, Jen is a huge Will Ferrell fan.
Oh, nice.
And I say that very sarcastically. She cringes as I go ahead and I mention that.
Yeah. Anchorman, yes. Now I remember.
Yeah, Anchorman. And then we watched, I think it was last week. We're having a little bit of a day. And I asked the question, have you seen Talladega Nights? She's, what's that? So she got a little bit of an intro to American culture.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a classic.
Shake and bake.
Yeah. Craig, what would be one piece of advice that you would give to founders or leaders?
If you're not sure if you have the right hire, you don't. Because for a long time, there would be people I would hire and say, I'm not sure. I think they can get it right. And, they're trying really hard. When I went ahead and I started working with Jen, she was in our career division, and I saw how committed she was. I saw how structured she was. We hire 24/7. So Cyberbacker is doing interviews 24/7 live, real time. And she was the one who originally helped take an idea of, I think we need to do this because people want rapid. I want to be able to apply right now. I want to be on a video chat right now. So she took my vision of on-demand and made it a reality. So we could go ahead and just do that. And the way that she structured that, the way that she was thinking, I knew she was good. And when she came in, I haven't had a day where I've doubted if she's talented or I've doubted if she's capable. There's times that I've went ahead and I've seen her take on challenges that I didn't ask her to, and I wasn't thinking about it. And it would be for me personally and for the business to not work with her, it would be detrimental. So it's not, can she work? Can she do the good job? No, this is someone that they have to be here for you to go ahead and perform at your best level, or someone like them. So finding that level of talent.
Yeah, that's, that makes me so happy to hear that you have that sort of relationship, and that you really truly understand the importance of having someone like Jen next to you. And Jen, what about you? What advice would you give to assistants or force multipliers, particularly ones who work with founders, because they are a unique breed?
You're right. Craig's very busy person. And so it's very important that you build a strong relationship with the founder. It's important that the relationship is strong enough for you to stick together, because it's not going to be easy all the time. There'll be challenges all the time. And so when you're in the relationship where you can talk about anything, you get to be more transparent, and you get to it's a harmonious relationship, I should say. And you're very open. You're very open to resolving conflicts, and you're very open to looking forward for things that can be done in a much better way. And I guess it's the key to having an effective partnership.
What are some things, just like a couple of tips that you would recommend others implement from the very early stages of their partnership that really helped you to work on your communication and relationship? Something that they could get into action really quickly on their strengthening that relationship.
Be vulnerable. And when I'm having a hard time, I naturally have one of those personalities that's, I don't need help. Don't worry about it. I got this. I'll do whatever. And working with Jen, it was difficult for me to go ahead and say, it's okay to let her know I'm having a hard time or I'm having a bad day. And having that from her, she knows about me having, natural disasters like crazy, and all the fun things with my moving around. And I know right now that her biggest challenge and worry and concern is her family's health. And we talk about it. And I'm very empathetic to, what do they need? How do we help? And I check in with her and I ask the question, how's your family doing? Are they okay? Are they getting healthier? And we talk about that. We know each other's stresses. We know where each other is experiencing some pain. And the quicker you can go ahead and just get genuine and authentic and vulnerable with someone, I think that's the quicker that you're going to see the relationship grow.
Yeah, I completely agree. And that's what I was going to ask you, is like, how long did it take you to get to that place? Did you just was it just a leap of faith and just like, we're going to be committed to this and give it and just go get vulnerable right away?
No. I think there'd been a couple times that we'd had experiences of vulnerability. Her in the career division where it's like we weren't hiring fast enough and we had people that were waiting and we just couldn't find someone good. And so we had just had conversations about that and kind of, we just got real. And as soon as we started working together, we were going through a time where I knew we had to go ahead and do some restructuring. And I got right into how it made me feel, some of the challenges. And it was just at a place where I'd like to tell you that I was emotionally intelligent enough that I just went ahead and said, okay, here's all my fears in the world. The circumstances were kind of just there that we were talking very, very just, here it is.
Yeah. I mean, I love that it happened organically like that. I mean, that's great. And just a great way to build that rapport and relationship. Couple of quick last questions. What books have had the biggest impact on your personal or professional life?
The one thing, like for me personally, it's the first book that I've read from the very beginning to the end with the team, because that's how we are with Cyberbacker. We read books. I was back then handling career. It's very overwhelming for me to handle that, knowing that I didn't have an experience recruiting or hiring people and interviewing. And so reading the book helped me focus on a very important task that I have to do on a particular day. And so it would be much easier for me to move on. That's a lot of help also when I started working with Craig, because Craig's world's, it's not, it's crazy. He's a very busy person, a lot going on with Cyberbacker, with coaching and real estate. And so that helped me a lot. What's the one thing that I can do such that by doing it, everything else becomes easier or unnecessary is the first question I ask myself every day.
Jen, that is amazing. I hear a lot of people, of course, have read The One Thing, in the real estate world that we're a part of. However, I don't know if as many people have implemented it probably the way that you have. And quite honestly, I don't know if everyone asks that question to themselves every day. So I think that's really, really cool that you actually took that information and are using it on a daily basis.
Yeah, I do.
Right, what about you? Any great, I love books and I love recommending books to other people. So any that have really been impactful for you?
I can show you my library and go through notes, and I am a ridiculous, over the top advocate of studying it. And right now, like I'm studying, it's a parenting book called Positive Discipline. It's really, really good. And I'm learning about emotions and stuff like that. So if you're wanting to improve your parenting skills, because I'm working on my positive discipline with my 5-year-old.
Okay.
Yeah, the one thing truly was life-changing for me, because once I understood that, I understand where I can live and what I can do really well and what I can't. And not necessarily can't, but just it was a distraction for me. And I understood my distractions. But I can go ahead and tell you another one that changed my life was 4-Hour Workweek. And he talks about hiring remote. He talks about hiring virtual. And the first time I read that book, I think it was 2011. And I was talking about it with a friend, and he went ahead and he said, yeah, here in the book, it's got this chart. I don't remember exactly what it's called. Normally I've got it posted up in my office, but it's a flow chart. And it says at the bottom, newnyrich.com. So whoever you give credit for that, but it says when you're presented with a task, first question you ask is, will I enjoy this? Is it income producing? Is it an obligation? And if it's none of those things, you eliminate it. But it also asks the question, will I enjoy it? Yes, well then do it. Is it income generating? Yes. Can it be outsourced or leveraged? No, well, it goes on your calendar. Or yes, find someone to do it. But that book was very, very life-changing for me, because once I understood that, just that flow chart right there, it allowed me to go ahead and see, here are things I enjoy, here are things I'm good at, and I'm going to spend time focusing on my strengths, and the areas that I'm not as good, I'm going to find help. And even though it talked about hiring all these different places, it didn't mention the Philippines. And when someone mentioned that to me, I kind of scratched my head and I said, where is the Philippines? Not to brag about my, illustrious education, but if you looked at the globe and said, where's the Philippines? I would kind of scratch my head for a little bit. And I knew nothing about the culture and just kind of lucked into it. And originally, when we started thinking hiring virtually, the book mentions India. And I talked with and I met with a few people from India, and I'm sure they're great. I just didn't quite feel the same kind of bond. And we have a gentleman working with us from Bangladesh who, wonderful, wonderful man. It was a life-changing book, though, one of my absolute favorites. And then for leadership, John Maxwell, and he's a friend. I got to spend some time with him. We were trapped in a shuttle in Boston, and I sat next to him and Margaret, and just such an authentic and humble leader. And except he's a little bit of a lead foot. We talked about that and how we both love speeding a little bit too much, but wonderful, wonderful guy. So for leadership, 21 Irrefutable Laws of Leadership is absolutely a favorite.
Okay, great. I was going to say, there's so many great John Maxwell books. Which one would you pick? So you said 21.
Yeah.
Very cool. So what are you both working on next?
We have this project. We kind of went back from the beginning. And for me, when I can get inspired, kind of like an artist, I do some of my best work. And I apologize, I'm going to get a little emotional. We lost my grandpa back shortly after Cyberbacker started. And he was my original first entrepreneur business mentor. And just really, when I was a kid, treated me like a young, executive, and made me feel special. And he was 39 when I was born. And so he was younger than me when I came around, and I can't even imagine being a grandpa now. But we went ahead and we started building Cyberbacker Prime as kind of an homage to him. And so for his 80th birthday, which is Halloween coming up here, we're going to have some fun, and we're going to compare and contrast. We're meeting with his first assistant, and we're going to go ahead and kind of record what that was like and some of the differences, and how it can be a little bit of a different, I don't want to say product for Cyberbacker, because it's just kind of a way that people can utilize it differently.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
Where can our listeners connect with you both, learn more about Cyberbacker? What's the best way to get in touch?
Facebook's always good. Instagram's always good. Going to cyberbacker.com. We love visitors online. And then I'm a very old fashioned. My email address is craig@cyberbacker.com. Send me a message. I'm a real person. I've been through a lot of the stuff too. I've been through big failures. I've been through big, upsets, and I've learned from mistakes, and I've had, great friends and great leaders around me from the beginning. And so I would truly invite people to reach out and connect.
That's awesome. Does Jen respond back, or do you?
She filters.
Yeah. Okay.
So truly, she'll go through the email and be like, no, I don't think Craig's interested in a weight loss supplement.
Right.
Oh, the Prince of Nigeria emailed him again. He's famous over there. And she'll go ahead and filter. And then she'll go ahead and say, okay, these ones, they need you. They need you to engage.
Okay, very cool. Well, thank you both so much for sharing a little bit about your partnership. I love learning more about Cyberbacker. Such a cool company. And I love what you're doing, not just with the company itself, but all of the mission behind the organization.
I appreciate it. Thanks. Our big mission right now, and this is a big thing, but we want to make a dent in poverty. Our goal is right now, by December 31st, 2025, to have 15,000 cyberbackers. And we want to be able to profit share 5 million. Because when we do that, that'll be our first group. That 5 years they'll be vested, so they can get that the rest of their life. And that'll be the first class that's able to basically retire and live a wonderful life. And if they want to stay, then we want them to stay. And if they go ahead and say, you know what, I'm tapping out, I'm done, then okay.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Well, thank you both so much. And people will drop all of the stuff in the notes for everyone so that they can connect.
Thank you.
Thank you.